Representative Chris Markey, who represents Dartmouth and New Bedford. Good morning, Chris. What do you make of the governor's reopening plans, as limited as we've seen right now? What's your sense of what they're thinking?
I think as much as everyone wants to rush to it, and it makes sense to reopen, and you feel like it makes a lot of sense, it might not make the most sense in the scientific world and in the medical world. I think as you see the news around the world, is these little hot spots are opening up even where we thought everything had kind of slowed down and died out. I know South Korea has some concerns, China has some concerns, Germany has some concerns. So I think the governor is doing an incredible job, to be honest with you. I think we'll have a slow, steady return. And one of the articles I've read about 6 weeks ago was talking about how really the plateau needs to be really spread out. And the longer the plateau is for us, the second wind, which would happen in the fall and the winter, will be less significant. And that's what I'm kind of hoping for. I'd rather have it that we're slowly going back now than having an abrupt stop to everything come November or December. So I look at it as a thoughtful reopening. I hope businesses are really looking at how they can reopen, understanding, and having, they're not going to know the details of a governor's opening and the absolute number of people they could have, and whether it's a restaurant or a store or a manufacturing facility. But I think they have a sense of what it's going to be like, and they need to begin that process of how can we do this, knowing that there's going to be limitations for probably the next year. And I believe businesses are doing it, and if they're not doing it, they're going to fall behind. But trying to figure out those things, from staffing to how they deliver their service or their product.
We're speaking with State Representative Chris Markey of Dartmouth and New Bedford. Well, I do think that's true, that one of the components of advertising and marketing your business now is you're going to have to explain how you make your place safe and clean and keep it that way and protect people's interests to keep them through the door. And then the consumers are just going to have to choose, right?
Yeah. I agree. I think you look at some of the ideas in Rhode Island where you go to a restaurant and you sit down during this reopening period, they're going to get all your personal information. You say, well, why are we doing that? Well, it's because if someone, while you're at the restaurant, reports a positive COVID, 3 or 4 days later, the state's going to contact you and say, hey, you may have been exposed. You need to quarantine, or you need to do that. Then, if we have an abrupt opening and we actually did that, people would be quarantined for 14 days instead of having, half a beer, you're going to get no beer, right? So I'd take half a beer at any point.
I like that. That's a good way to put it. With that in mind, the state of Massachusetts has made some moves recently. I know they are closing down, but I'm not sure what it means, but closing down the Cape Cod overflow that they built over there at the military installation. Now, and also they've now sent a letter saying that they don't feel they're going to need to use the second nursing home, the one in Sasquin that Mayor Mitchell converted, because they feel that we're not going to have that high of a surge that requires all those beds. When they close it down, Chris, and maybe the wrong person to ask, but does that mean they're just not going to be staffing it, to say that down the Cape, or they're taking the whole thing down the Cape? Do you get a sense?
I believe they're taking the whole thing down the Cape. I believe that they're not going to be using the North End second nursing home as well. You got to remember when this all started, we were seeing New York's numbers go up astronomically in deaths. I have seen some videos of nurses walking through rooms and in hospitals with body bags everywhere, and the trucks are significant when you see those, the refrigerated trucks full of bodies. There was a 60-minute segment on that, and it was during that time where we wanted to make sure we were prepared, and that was not going to happen here. And I looked at the nursing homes and the field hospitals as an insurance policy. I think when you look at it as a whole, I think you know the field hospital as well as that what South Coast has done. Keith Hovind over at South Coast Hospitals, from Toby to Charlton to St. Luke's, and his staff there, the nursing staff, the doctor staff. I mean, everyone has been focused on this. They've given up so much to be able to treat our community. I mean, South Coast Hospital is a nonprofit. They're going to lose a ton of money because of this. Their revenue sources of elective surgery and orthopedic-type surgeries has been eliminated for the last 60 days. And they're going to take a hit, but they've sacrificed significantly on this. And I think people don't have a real appreciation for that and how much that is. It's basically taking away your most profitable product and saying you can't do this, and you're going to end up spending money and creating a product that is the most liability for you. And that's what they've done for the last 2 months.
I think they've done a remarkable job, the medical community. Now the facility out at UMass Dartmouth of the overflow, is that one still going to be staying up, or is there plans to remove that as well?
At this point, it's staying up. Who knows what will happen? I mean, I know they took down the one down the Cape, but to me, that's a good sign. That's what this social distancing does. It allows that to happen. I know it's frustrating for so many people, but at the same token, it's really truly saving lives, and it's not just the lives of the elderly and who are infirm already. It's really saving the lives of people who work in the hospitals, who are first responders, and all the other people who are out there doing stuff as essential workers. So in that respect, I don't mind having spent the money to make sure we got it set up and we did it. And again, it's a playbook for us in the future. If something were to happen even in the winter, we know exactly what to do, how to do it, how quickly we can do it, and the needs for anything like this. And it could be for generations ahead that we have this thing.
No, I think that is an excellent point. We're speaking with State Representative Chris Markey of Dartmouth and New Bedford. Chris, the Governor Baker is putting forward a really large bill, money bill, to back up state. Talk a little bit about what you know about that.
Well, we need it. Number one, the potentially that we will have lost for fiscal year 21. We were anticipating maybe a $4 to $6 billion decrease in revenues, which is about the same as 2008, maybe more. But that's early on. I think it might be even worse than that. So we're talking about some cuts that we would be needing to make along the way. The borrowing of the money is essential, that we need to make sure we can get through this. The hope is the federal government provides us with more money for relief, another $2 or $3 billion, and I think we can at least try to do our best with that. But it's necessary, and I expect it to pass in the next week or so, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, on a positive side, they just awarded a contract to start building the Freetown and Fall River stations, and I think they'll be announcing New Bedford stuff here as well. So the commuter rail project, at least so far, continues to move forward, right?
Yes, definitely. I mean, that's huge. That's not taking a hit. It's not slowing down at all. People actually are still working on it now. Currently, they're doing culverts and other things along the way. I think it's this is one of those things that is a generational investment for us. I just keep wondering, especially now, why go to Boston? Mm-hmm. This is just one example of it. I mean, the commercial real estate in Boston is going to go down dramatically, mostly because of this. But people are realizing they can work from home, 3 or 4 days a week, go into the office. They're not going to need the space they need. And now the question is, what are we going to do with the commercial space, right? That's going to be available in 5 or 6 years when the leases are up. Do we convert it into housing? What do we do along the way? I just don't know, but I know in the long run, over the next decade, that commercial real estate will not be what it has been in the last decade.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly safe bet. Everything's going to be changing. The other thing is that one of the nice things about the way that contract, and I don't know the parameters of it, but D.W. White, which is a local company, was the one who was awarded the bids to build in Freetown and Fall River, so that will give a significant injection of payroll, revenue into the area, a remarkable amount, actually.
Yes, no, I think so too. I think it'll be great. I think the whole project is something that is benefiting us, even along the roads where they're, even the little sandwich shops and other things where all the crosses are they're repairing those and updating the railroad tracks. Those guys have to eat every day. They get gas every day at little mom and pop stores when they drive into Taunton or to Freetown or to New Bedford. So I think it's all very helpful to the South Coast.
We're speaking with Representative Chris Markey, who represents Dartmouth and New Bedford. Chris, just one other thing in public education. Do you have we're putting you on the spot here, and I know you're not making the call on this, but do you have a sense of what the Department of Education is thinking about come September?
I think their hope is that we can bring kids back to school. Now, I think that's a realistic goal. The difference is it might not be the same school that you went to last September. When I say that, it's the same school physically, but it may be that we turn school into half days and have half the class in for the first part of the year in the morning, half in the afternoon. It could be that you go every other day. It could be, for example, lunches. I'm sure lunches are going to be delivered to classrooms and not go down to the cafeteria. All those little things that I think we're trying to distance people will be there. That's just my gut. Mm-hmm. Ideally, it would be nice to be able to say, okay, we're going to have everything go back to normal. Even if you think about it as the bus, right? I mean, how can you throw 45 kids on a bus? And the transportation issues that will come up. So maybe you do it half and half. I don't know, but there's a lot of work to be done and a lot of planning to be done in different scenarios. So I know Commissioner Riley is working on that with many people. I know Alice Pice, who is our chairwoman of education in the House, has been working on it since day one, really, is thinking about these things. So do I have an answer? No, but my best guess is that there will be a significant difference into how we educate our children over at least the next year. And hopefully it's only a hiccup along their career of education, but it will be different.
Yeah, I just it's worrisome, right? Because the schools are just so integral to a community and to the shaping of our society and all of that good stuff. And I think most of us look back fondly on our days of going to school and all the things that go along with that. So you'd hope that we can figure that whole piece out.
Yeah, it's personal too. I mean, I got two kids who are in high school. I absolutely love going to all their sporting events. I have my friends who are all part of that as well, and I want my kids to experience the same things I did when I was in high school and what their older siblings did. And, who knows what the sports is going to be like as well. Right. And I know for so many, even me, like I sucked academically through high school and kind of hit me in law school that I did well. But the athletics was the reason why I went to school. I wanted to go to practice. I wanted to play in a game. I wanted to do all those things. And the only way I was going to do it is actually show up at school. And there's so many other kids who are like that. Right. That we need to find outlets for them to motivate them, to get them, and to realize at some point that the academics is the most important thing.
Right, but your point is so important that there's a certain age group where the only reason you go to school is and even participate is for all the stuff that you want to do at school,
the
right?
social stuff, whether it be theater or whatever, or just hanging out with your friends. I mean, my kids have been on line teaching or learning since March 16th, and they don't pass each other in the hallway with friends. They don't get to have lunch together with all their friends. They go 45 minutes, they're off for 15, they go back for 45 minutes, they go back off for 15. So it's tough. It's tough.
And your kids have your kids, I would say, have better circumstances than a lot of kids,
Yeah, we've been blessed our whole life, so I get that. And but it's a sacrifice for everybody, really.
Yep. No, absolutely. And so, Chris, listen, I know you got a busy schedule. If your constituents are looking to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
They can call my office, 508-717-0284. But they can also email me at christopher.markey@mahouse.gov. So it's christopher.markey@mahouse.com. .gov.
.gov. Beautiful. Yep. All right. Well, Chris, I really appreciate you making time for us again and filling us in on what you know. Thanks so much. Have a great day.